Not thought of an intro, to be honest. What's going on, everyone? It's Jack from WhatCulture.com. This is the Fast Count, and it's time to kick everything off with all of this week's WWE news. First up, we have to start with the WWE Draft, and specifically, I want to focus on the NXT call-ups. Now, the internet branded the NXT call-ups the NXT 6 in the build-up to the draft because it was, made clear that there were going to be 6 NXT superstars called up to either Raw or SmackDown. Everyone went wild thinking, is it going to be, Nakamura? Is it going to be Ty Dillinger? Is it going to be Austin Aries? Is it going to be, these really good, sort of experienced wrestlers who can come in and do a great job on the main roster? No. I mean, admittedly, it was Finn Balor and American Alpha. They're really good. Then you had Alexa Bliss, where she's improved a lot recently. Nia Jax, I guess you could say she's unique and distinctive enough to make an impact in the women's division. Then you have Mojo Rawley. And finally, Carmella, who, like Alexa Bliss, has improved a lot, in recent months. Now, this doesn't exactly make sense to me from a kayfabe point of view. Why on earth would Shane, Stephanie, Foley, and Daniel Bryan beat around the bush picking people like Mojo Rawley and Alexa Bliss when, Nakamura's right there, he's on the table, you can take him. They never specified in the rules. I can see why they did it from an actual business sense. I can see why they did it, to keep NXT strong as well, keep some of their stronger players in NXT. From a storyline point of view, it didn't make much sense. Didn't make much sense at all, much like that sentence. Just keep that in. Now it's time to focus on a little bit of controversy that also came from Tuesday night. Cesaro cut a promo at one point in the night, and it seemed as though the supplemental draft after the show on Facebook, the promos that aired there weren't as tightly regulated as we're used to. Now, as we all saw, Kalisto made a bit of a mess of his, probably not used to, cutting such loosely structured promos in one take. I can totally sympathise with that. I mean, you just saw me mess up before. Cesaro, on the other hand, cut a very eloquent, very controversial promo where he basically said there's too much focus on the authority figures. I wish I'd been drafted to SmackDown to, be on the show that focuses more about wrestling. I imagine there were some frustrated faces backstage at WWE headquarters when that one went on air. And then, of course, Sasha Banks retweeted that and said something like, "You're speaking my language," or "I totally agree with you, Cesaro." So this could snowball and really affect a lot of the rest of the roster, or it could fizzle out and we could see Cesaro's stock just again. Next up, sound the boring legal news klaxon. I'm going to make that a thing because often on the Fast Count, I have to tackle issues that aren't really to do with the wrestling that we all know and love. It's to do with the nitty-gritty stuff, to do with paychecks and legality and concussions and all. Really serious issues, but not the sort of colourful stuff you expect from the world of pro wrestling. In this week's boring news klaxon news, more than 50 WWE wrestlers have filed a lawsuit against WWE, accusing them of hiding long-term effects of neurological injuries. Now, you might recognise a few of the names: Road Warrior Animal, Paul Orndorff, Jimmy Snuka, Axe and Smash, both members of Demolition, Sabu, Ahmed Johnson, Chavo Guerrero, Shane Douglas. It goes on and on and on. A lot of very influential figures there. I know that there's been arguments on both sides of the debate. Jonathan Coachman spoke up and said that he was totally against this sort of lawsuit. They're being disloyal to Vince, one of the most loyal men he's ever worked with. So this is a very interesting one to keep an eye on, even if I did say it was part of the boring news klaxon. Thanks for the klaxon, cheers. And now it's time for my favourite part of the week, and yours, I'm sure, because we're going to take a look, we're going to dip our toes in the murky, amazing, psychedelic world, the wacky world of professional wrestling. We saw on Wednesday night the final installment in the 3-part Ultima Lucha Dose, the end-of-season spectacular from Lucha Underground. Now, the show received generally positive reviews. I won't spoil any results in case you want to go back and catch up. But generally, the match that was considered to be match of the night was Rey Mysterio v Prince Puma, aka Ricochet. As our own esteemed wrestling editor Lewis House said, he hadn't seen Rey move like that in years, so that's definitely one to watch out for. Elsewhere, you had the title match between Matanza Cueto and Pentagon Jr., my boy, and a brilliant 6-man trios title match between John Morrison, Jack Evans, and PJ Black, Justin Gabriel, and I think it was Drago, Phoenix, and I've forgotten the last one right at the end. No, Aerostar. It was Aerostar. So sorry, Aerostar, mate. So sorry. Next, we go over to the world of New Japan Pro Wrestling, where the G1 Climax is well underway. The first round happened a few days ago. The second round is taking place as we speak right now. Can you hear the stiff shots? Can you hear them over in the distance? I promised myself I wasn't going to make that joke beforehand, and I've done it anyway. What am I doing? The first round turned up some very surprising results, and some very good matches as well, but the two biggest upsets have to be Okada losing to Marufuji, the incomer from Pro Wrestling Noah, the outsider. That was a match that really showcased Marufuji's style. It wasn't a squash, but he certainly dominated the match. He had the better of it. And in even maybe a more shocking result, Sonada, part of Tetsuya Naito's heel stable, he didn't choke out, he submitted Tanahashi, the golden boy of New Japan, the John Cena, the ultimate babyface who never gives up. He tapped out to Sonada, which could completely change the whole face of the promotion, I think, if they do explore this storyline further. And now it's time for our #1 promotion in the world, official, hashtag it, it's TNA news. Bobby Lashley's the new X Division champion. Bobby Lashley's the new X Division champion. Basically, if you're not familiar with TNA, they have a pretty unique concept, in fairness, called Option C, where the X Division champion has the chance to risk their belt and cash in for a match with the TNA heavyweight champion. I think Austin Aries has successfully cashed in the past over, I think, Bully Ray. Eddie Edwards was the X Division champion this week on Impact, and he didn't succeed. Bobby Lashley is now a double champion. That's a sentence that should really never be said. And now for a special all WWE edition of this week's takeaways, because, I mean, for once this week WWE's been more wacky than the wacky world of professional wrestling. Who'd have thought? First of all, will WWE bring back or establish a new top title? Now, for weeks now in the build-up to the draft, we've all been thinking, yes, they're definitely going to either bring back the World Heavyweight Championship or establish a new top-tier belt for the brand that doesn't hold the WWE Championship. But now rumours have started to crop up that there isn't actually going to be a secondary belt at all. I'd be inclined to speculate against those rumours and say that our original assumptions were right and there will be a second belt, because after all, WWE changed the name of their title from the WWE World Heavyweight Championship to the WWE Championship. That was hard. Give me some props for that. So yes, I think that there will be a secondary belt, but I don't think it'll come about until after Battleground. Maybe not until after even SummerSlam, where we could see potentially 2 title matches. Maybe it'll wait until after that. I think the McMahons will be involved somehow. I can totally see Stephanie throwing a tantrum when she doesn't get the belt and bringing in one of her own. That's the sort of thing she'd do. It'll probably be called the Stephanie McMahon Helmsley Levesque Heavyweight World Wrestling Heavyweight Steph Championship. Now, we have to consider Brock Lesnar's suspension. He's in all sorts of trouble with the UFC's sort of doping policy commission. I don't really have time to go into the ins and outs of it, but basically, it's very likely that he's going to be found guilty of cheating. How will this affect his standing in WWE? Will they suspend him as they did Roman Reigns? You have to remember that Brock's a part-time performer and they aren't subject to the same regulations as full-time performers like Roman. If I had to put money on it, I mean, I can't see them seriously giving a severe punishment to Brock Lesnar. He's always a main draw when he comes in. He's probably, in kayfabe, the strongest, most terrifying man on the roster, and whoever eventually beats him is going to get a huge push. I really can't see him having too much of a trouble with WWE. He might lose a lot of his purse over in UFC, but that's not... I mean, you shouldn't have cheated, Brock. You're a beast, you didn't need to. And now for the final takeaway, and I'm going to do something a bit different. I'm going to turn it over to you, the people behind the camera. Not you, mate. Not you, Mr. Editor, sir. I mean you, the fans watching the Fast Count. What do you think of WWE's Battleground card this Sunday? Leave your opinions in the comment section below. I think it'll be an average to slightly above average card, a 5 to a 7. Because I think the 2 main event matches could be... In fact, no, I'll push it up to an 8, because the 2 top matches, the Shield Triple Threat and Owens v Zayn, I think are both going to be fantastic, and that'll drag the rest of the card up with it. What do you think? Give it a mark out of 10. Go on, I'll say 7.5, and we'll see who's right. Even though in the end, none of us will be right, because as we all know, wrestling isn't subjective at all. That's all for this week. I've been Jack from WhatCulture.com. You can follow me on Twitter at Jack_the_jobber. Thank you very, very much for watching the Fast Count, and I'll see you soon.
This Monday, these men are built to destroy. After their brutal match on Loaded, Primate faces off against the Iron Man Joe Coffey in a no-holds-barred match. WWE Cruiserweight Classic contender Noam Dar gets a shot at the Ring of Honor World title as he takes on champion Jay Lethal. Rampage goes one-on-one with Big Damo as these two monsters compete to become the first ever WCPW champion. Built to Destroy, airing July 25th exclusively on WhatCulture Wrestling.